I was ruined for trusting the wrong person, but I accidentally discovered a strange way to make money online. I never thought money would define such a big part of my life, or at least the darkest part of it. I wasn't rich, not even close, but I had savings, real savings, the kind that take years of saying no to invitations, of eating at home instead of ordering food, of walking instead of taking an Uber. I was proud of that little pile of cash. It felt like my safety net, my proof that I wasn't doing everything wrong. And then, in less than a month, all of it disappeared. It started with someone I trusted. It always starts that way, right? Someone close enough that you don't feel the need to question them. Someone that you know your weaknesses, like in my case, it was a guy I'd been friends with for years. Let's call him Daniel. He knew I had savings. I wasn't flashy, but he knew. He also knew that I had this quiet insecurity. I wanted to do something bigger with my money, but had no idea where to start. One day, he came to me with what he called a once in a lifetime investment opportunity. I didn't know it yet, but that phrase alone should have been enough to make me run. He told me he was working with a small import company, buying electronics at wholesale prices from overseas and reselling them locally with a 30 to 40% margin. On paper, it made sense. I had even helped him move boxes once. The operation looked real. He showed me spreadsheets, screenshots of sales, conversations with clients. Everything looked legitimate. He told me that if I invested my savings, all $12,700, I'd have a guaranteed return in less than 90 days, guaranteed. That word hit me like a drug. I knew nothing in finance was guaranteed, but hearing it from someone I trusted made me ignore the obvious red flag. So I transferred the money, and that was it. That was the last moment in which I would feel okay for a long time. A week later, Daniel stopped replying instantly. 2 weeks later, his explanation started sounding rehearsed. 3 weeks later, he told me there were delays in customs. 4 weeks later, he disappeared. His phone stopped working. His apartment was empty. His social media accounts wiped. It was as if he never existed. My savings were gone just like that. I kept checking my banking app like somehow the balance was going to fix itself. I kept rereading our messages, trying to figure out the exact second I should have realized he was lying. I felt stupid, violated. It's not I angry at him, but even angrier at myself. For the first time in my life, I felt financially naked, like someone had ripped away my stability and replaced it with a hole. The worst part wasn't even the money, it was the silence afterwards. The shame, the fear of telling anyone, the nights staring at the ceiling, replaying everything in my head. I wanted to blame Daniel, but the truth is I had ignored every red flag. I walked willingly into the trap because deep down I wanted an easy win. I wanted results without doing the boring, slow, disciplined work. For about 2 months, I was a zombie. Work, home, bed, repeat. No motivation, no dreams. Money, the one thing I thought I understood, had become this source of anxiety. I would get nervous even paying for groceries, but one night, everything shifted, not because I found motivation, but because I hit a point where the sadness became annoying. I got tired of feeling like a victim. That night, I fell into a rabbit hole on Reddit, specifically r/entrepreneur, r/small business, r/side hustle, and eventually something I had barely heard of, organic drop shipping. The term sounded like bullshit at first. I had seen the stereotype, screenshots of Shopify dashboards, rented Lambos, people promising riches with zero effort. I hated that world. It felt fake, superficial, noisy. But organic caught my attention. No ads, no thousands of dollars wasted, no courses, no fake luxury lifestyle, just social platforms, content, and simple online catalogs. I started reading more. There were people doing it quietly without flexing, without selling anything except products. People who actually made money, yet not millions, not six figures in a week, but enough to build stability. And you know what's funny? What hooked me wasn't the success stories. It was the failures. People talking honestly about products that didn't sell, about suppliers that messed up orders, about followers who never converted. Everything sounded messy and human and imperfect. And for some reason, that made me trust it more. So I searched for communities, and that's how I met the group that would change my life. Not because they were mentors or millionaires, but because they were real, people grinding, people failing, people trying again. They didn't promise anything. They didn't speak in motivational cliches. They simply shared what worked and what didn't. And for the first time, I felt safe learning about money again. I didn't start with a store. I didn't start with branding. I didn't start with logos, slogans, fancy packaging, none of that. I started with a single product, a simple kitchen tool. I found a supplier, made a basic page, and began posting short organic videos on TikTok. It's like hands-only, simple demos, no talking, no face, nothing complicated. My first two videos got 300 views each, no sales. My third got around 900, still nothing. My fourth somehow got 12,000 views. That day, I made my first sale, $4.79 profit, and I swear that tiny profit hit me harder than any paycheck I'd received in years. It felt like something inside me clicked for the first time since the scam. Like my brain whispered, "See, you can make money again. You're not broken." I kept going, not because I was chasing success, but because the process became therapeutic. For the first time in months, financial anxiety didn't control me. I was controlling something financially, even if it was small. Over weeks, then months, that little product turned into two, then three. Some sold, some didn't. Some videos went viral, most didn't, but I kept showing up. Organic dropshipping wasn't glamorous, it wasn't fast, it wasn't easy, but it was real, and most importantly, it was mine. By the 6th month, I wasn't rich, but I was stable again. I had rebuilt almost all the money Daniel had stolen. Not in one big jump, but through dozens of tiny steps, honest ones. I didn't forgive him, I didn't forget. But I did stop letting the scam define me. And if there's anything I've learned, not motivational, not inspirational, just real, it's this. Losing everything is terrifying, but it forces you to rebuild with things that can't be taken away again. Knowledge, experience, and the ability to start from zero without fear. Now, when I look at my bank account, I don't think about the number. I think about those first $4.79, because that was the moment I stopped being a victim and became someone financially alive again.